it's broadly understood in industry that these generative solutions are not yet delivering ROI that was expected. And one unique feature of them compared to previous forms of disruptive technology is that generating an impressive looking proof of concept is actually comparatively easy. Because the core capability is kind of in some ways seems so magical, you can actually make a proof of concept that is quite close to what you might want your production ready tool to be able to do. But actually that last 5% is really a lot of work. And at the moment, a lot of the real challenge really across generative AI and industry right now is failing to scale from interesting proof of concept to valuable enterprise tool that's generating real value. And I think there's maybe two things that I think really lie at the heart of this. The first of all is getting that robustness from the proof of concept that nearly works well enough to one that reliably every single time creates the output that you need is very, very challenging. And we're still not yet at the point where we can do that. And I think that ties very much into what John was talking about making sure the content is actually tailored enough to reach to the customers engaged. There's a lot of features at the moment. Often we can tell if something's been generated by generative AI. And I think the second point there is that at the moment, we still obviously are operating in a human in the loop context. And I think we will be for a while. And there is actually kind of a kind of operations question of, is having a first draft that's complete and ready, but not quite right, actually that much better in terms of saving time? Because as humans, there are fundamental behavioral traits that mean it's actually quite hard for us to keep focused if something looks very nearly right, but does have fundamental errors. And we also get anchored to the structure of an output. So if we get given a structure from a language model, it's quite difficult for us to unthink that structure and start from the ground up again. And so if you really want to measure how long it takes people to get from zero to the finished output, depending on the document, depending on what the output is, sometimes having a language model generated output first, if you really want to get all the way to a final kind of delivery ready, is not necessarily always fast. And so I think there's quite big questions to ask. And really they kind of come down to this central question of how good is good enough? Because at the moment we're operating with our proof of concepts in a region where they're pretty good, but very rarely are they actually good enough for the kind of business problem